Thank you. For the record, Daryl Perry, CEO of Lobby LLC. And I want to try addressing a couple of Senator Woodburn's questions about how do people in quote unquote border towns deal with different time zones on different sides of a river or a line. And there are, where I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, about an hour and a half from the border between Eastern and Central. So I know a little bit about dealing with, oh, I've got to catch a flight out of Atlanta, and remember, they're an hour ahead. You basically just sort of schedule it when you live a little further away. But when you live right on the border, there's actually practices that wind up being informally adopted to where some of the towns will actually wind up basically living in the time zone that they don't belong in just because of the number of people that live there that work in a community that is in that different time zone. So that's one possibility of how it could happen. There's also people that will have two different clocks, one set to, say, Central Time, one set to Eastern Time, or in this example, one set to Atlantic Standard, and the other set to Eastern Daylight Time. And one reason, sort of from a grammatical standpoint, why I support this is we would be on Atlantic Standard Time year-round, which means that nobody would ever say daylight savings time ever again here. There's no S at the end of saving time, and that's just a pet peeve of mine. And I'm sure that annoys a lot of other people as well. There's also been discussion previously, not necessarily in the legislature, but about the possibility of going to permanent DST. And, well, we can't do that because the federal government says you can't go to permanent DST. You can either not recognize DST or you can recognize it. So the only way to have the effect of permanent DST is to adjust the time zone to go to that next time zone to the east, which in this case would be Atlantic Standard. There was also the question about how do businesses wind up interacting with people in different time zones, and the example was Quebec. Well, a lot of international businesses, and the ones that I've worked with in the past, they all use universal time, which is Greenwich Mean Time. And then you just adjust accordingly for what your time zone is, and right now we're UTC -4, I believe, where when we're not on DST, it's UTC -5. So in support, think it would have a huge impact. And then there's the health benefits that were touched on by Representative Murphy, where basically every year when you change the clocks, the entire population gets jet lag for several days. And everybody, adjusts differently, but some people it does take about a week. The number of strokes go up significantly. The number of heart attacks go up significantly. The number of people that fall asleep driving go up significantly. And these would all be problems that we could eliminate by just not changing the clocks twice a year. And I'll answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there any questions? Senator Woodburn.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your enlightened testimony. You raised some interesting issues. So basically we would be trading for 3 months, January, February, March, an hour in the morning for an hour in the evening. So my question for you is, more good things happening in the morning or the evening? And don't we want to encourage good things, going to church, getting up, tending to chores, being healthy, as opposed to extending those evenings during those very dark and depressing January, February, March, when we make our evenings longer?
Well, it depends on whether or not you're a morning person or an evening person. And I prefer to be an evening person, but the work that I do basically requires me to be a morning person, so I sort of, suck it up and deal with it. And I don't think that it should be a legislative body's job to get people to conform to a societal standard that they believe in, whether it be, forcing people to be morning people, forcing them to be evening people. I think, sort of let people decide what they want to do as long as they're not harming other people. But what we would be doing, instead of shifting the clocks to where it starts getting dark earlier in January, December, it would wind up, basically being that permanent DST that a lot of people really desire. We would just be on Atlantic Standard. So I don't really think that it would impact the way people, already live their life. It would just prevent that jet lag from being foisted upon everybody.
Follow-up?
Would you be inclined to support an amendment that included Maine?
I would not oppose that, and actually I believe I'm one of the people that Representative McGuire referenced in having reached out and asking why Maine was not included. And I tried doing some research on the Time Zone Commission in Massachusetts, and all I was able to find was they have a meeting sometime next month, and they need more time before issuing their decision. But one of the things that they're dealing with is in Massachusetts of, well, if we change, but New Hampshire and Maine don't, then that would throw us out of sync. So I think if they know, hey, we're on board here, that might encourage them to come out with a positive ruling.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.